Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Neo4j Connected Intelligence. I'm Keaton Crow, the Partner Marketing Manager here at Neo4j. In this series, we explore how graph technology integrates with the broader AI ecosystem to solve complex data challenges, including today's topic, Agentic AI with Neo4j and Microsoft Foundry. I'm joined by Christian Glesner and George Bittencourt. I'll turn it over to you guys to share a bit about your backgrounds and what you're currently working on.
Yeah, thank you, Keaton. So, George, maybe you go first as Microsoft guest here.
Oh, thank you, Christian. So, hello, everyone. My name is George. I'm a partner solution architect here at Microsoft, and my focus is AI. And inside AI, because the AI is huge inside Microsoft, my main focus is what we call pro code scenarios, where I help partners build agents, right? Use our technology to build agents. And I like to say it's an honor to be here in this webinar together with Neo4j, talking with Christian, helping you understand how you can use graph database to close the context gap. Christian?
Thanks. So, my name is Christian Glesner. I support Neo4j, especially in the topic of integrating Microsoft Foundry and agent framework with Neo4j. And also, I'm now for 17 years a Microsoft MVP. For people who don't know that, who never heard that, I always call it is the Oscar for Microsoft. It's called my most valuable professional, and it's you do a lot of community work, international sessions, or webcasts like this one, and that's then you get that MVP award. And the advantage is you work very, very close with the engineering teams together with Microsoft, and so it makes completely sense that we, with the engineering from Microsoft together, check how we make it really awesome, the integration between Neo4j and Microsoft Foundry. So that's what we are today talking about.
Congrats, Christian.
So what I always see, or currently when I work with customers, I see RAG approaches are very popular currently. Everybody wants to do this, and what is the largest challenge that customers facing there? Is it which language model they use, which agent framework they use? Is that? So my reality, what I see, it's not the main problem. It's actually the oldest problem in IT that we ever found. It's still that old problem, garbage in, garbage out, or even you call it even shit in, shit out. It's still the old same problem, because what I still see is when people start building RAG solutions, in generally, it doesn't matter if it's graph RAG or other RAG. So they have a lot of data and they think, okay, I put all of this into the AI. Doesn't matter what quality it has, and then the AI should produce something useful out of it. And I think in some concerns even more dangerous to do it like this, because whatever you feed into the AI, you see it here, the poop here dressed up. So whatever garbage you feed into the AI make it really sounds like convincing and really convincing that's actually the truth. So this is even more dangerous. And so it's still the topic of, you have to provide good actual data in it. You cannot just take data, throw it into the AI and think magically the AI makes something good out of it. And this is one of the biggest challenges there. And I see currently people, what they're using, it's not wrong for simple things. They use it always AI like a little bit like a search tool. They do a vector search then. And what they actually get back is a lot of chunks. That's just fragments of data. And then the AI try to put the fragments together and make a story around of this. And then you have a nice presented search result. So I call it chunk food. But I think the solution for it is more a healthy knowledge sandwich. And so when I work with customers, what I see, how I'm a Microsoft MVP, what should I say? I love Microsoft stuff and I integrate it in everything, even in the sandwich, you see. And what I usually do is that we not go too deep into this. Usually I use something like Microsoft Fabric and to really approaches like the medallion approach to build, to really prepare the data, because it must be good if you want to serve it later onto the AI. I also, by the way, there's also Neo4j integration here in Fabric. You can explore your data as a graph, helps you to get new ideas about your data. But then I publish it actually into a graph, By the way, also very interesting is content understanding, Azure content understanding. I use that also a lot for unstructured data. And then I built a graph, which is much better, have a lot of protein, much better than just pure junk food because it connects every data together and it understands all the relationships. We will go later more on this, why this really matters in a demo. And then I need finally the agents, which is more on the front end layer, which actually serve that thing. And then I use for sure Microsoft Foundry agents, and especially with I love really to use agent framework with AGUI, but we talk later more about this. But we have here George who give you more idea about actually what you can do with Microsoft Foundry and what actually is.
Thanks, Christian. And I love it, your analogy of this knowledge sandwich. It makes a lot of sense, right? And let's see one part of the sandwich, which is Microsoft Foundry, right? So Microsoft Foundry is our platform for building AI applications, not only Gen AI applications, but what we call classic AI applications, right? Because as you can see here in this slide, we have several components inside Microsoft Foundry, and one of them is machine learning. And machine learning already existed before Microsoft Foundry, and that's the place where you go if you want to build, I don't know, maybe a classification, maybe a regression model, right? But in addition to that, we have several other features inside Microsoft Foundry. One of them is our model catalog. So we have more than 10,000 models available there from a lot of different partners of Microsoft. OpenAI, Anthropic, Cohere, Hugging Face. So we have a lot of options available. So you can go and select it then very quickly. You can see some benchmarks between these models, and you can go and select them and deploy very quickly in a project, right? But we also have what we call Microsoft Foundry Agent Services. So with Microsoft Agent Service, you can go and create agents very quickly. So you can create what we call prompt-based agents, where you go and define a prompt and you connect some tools, and you can very quickly connect it to Microsoft Teams, for instance, so your users can use that. But we also have inside Agent Services something that is coming, which is hosted agents. So you can bring agents developed using any framework to Microsoft Agent Service, right? Agent Service. Sorry. And we also have inside Microsoft Foundry what we call tools. And tools is a way that you can come and connect other tools like our vision models. So we have a lot of models available today, not only vision models, but audio models that you can use to do things like speech to text, text to speech. And finally, we have IQ. So Microsoft releases recently this Microsoft IQ layer, which is this intelligence layer, which is composed of three IQs, which is Work IQ, Fabric IQ, and Foundry IQ. So inside Microsoft Foundry, we have Foundry IQ, which you can use to go and connect to several different knowledge sources. And all of them, you can use Foundry control plane to go and orchestrate all these agents, and you can see how these agents are behaving, and you can control the identity of these agents to make sure they are behaving correctly and they are not, and they are working correctly. Next slide, please.
Thank you, George. And how we usually integrate that in Neo4j, like you already showed there. So it's either you can integrate it via MCP as a tool, or which is coming soon, I would say, is via IQ, which also a little bit the same idea, with a knowledge source, many knowledge base with many knowledge sources. But this is still the MCP, still private preview, so still not public available. I think will come soon.
Yeah. But Microsoft, we have this mission to empower everyone to reshape business process, right? And we understand that inside companies, we don't have only developers, but we also have what we call makers, right? So we have solution for both people. So for developers which want to have more customization, more control, and they want to build and deploy these agents using a DevOps pipeline and want observability to have products for this role, right, for developers. So it starts with GitHub Copilot, but we also have a Microsoft Agent Framework and Microsoft Foundry, as I told you right now, right? And for makers, which are people which are not developers, right? We also have Microsoft Copilot Studio, so you can go and very easily create agents there. And as Christian said, we have support in Microsoft Foundry and Copilot Studio for MCP, so you can leverage Neo4j MCP server, and you can get information, you can retrieve information from graph database using these connectors.
Yeah, like you said, so exactly the same MCP can be used in Copilot Studio, and maybe what people also not directly see, there are also customers that actually use Neo4j to model their components into a graph of their software, of their operating systems, of their source code components, and you can even use that in Visual Studio Code with GitHub Copilot, and then actually use it also a graph knowledge source to to understand your architecture even of code. It's also one way how you theoretically can leverage the two technologies together.
Well, I already read that some people compare MCP to bacon, and using your knowledge sandwich, I would say that MCP is the bacon in your sandwich, Christian.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a good. Yeah, so I like bacon.
Yeah, me too.
You're from Brazil. You like bacon too, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And as I said, no matter where you build your agents, be it inside Microsoft Foundry or Copilot Studio, both products share the same foundation, which is Microsoft Agent Framework, which is a framework that Microsoft created. Right now, it is already general available, so anyone can go and use. We have supported it for Python and C#, and it is being developed as an open source framework, right? And it is this shared foundation that Microsoft use, and you can use your own agent, right? There are a lot of integrations that you can enable using Microsoft Agent Framework, like context providers, middleware. So it's very extensible, and by default we provide all this telemetry, so you can observe your agents using Agent Framework because we use open telemetry. So all the telemetry is being generated using this format.
Yeah, so with the agent framework, I'm also happy to be a contributor there. So it's my favorite agent framework for sure. And we just published a context provider for C# and Python, a graph for building GraphRag, just recently, and a memory provider currently only for Python, which most likely will also come soon for C#. So we are also working with that thing. In the end, by the way, the things that I just mentioned, we will show all the links to the examples in the end.
Yeah. And as I said, we have this intelligence layer. So WorkIQ you can use to go and fetch data from your Microsoft 365 tenant. So if imagine that you have a schedule or you just sent an email. So using WorkIQ, you can go and fetch this data. And as Christian said, you can use that data to ground your agent. So that's a retrieval component, right? But we also have another two IQs, which is Fabric IQ. So you can do the same thing in order to fetch data from Fabric, and also from Foundry IQ. We also have Foundry IQ, where you can go and create a knowledge base. And inside Microsoft Foundry, we can create what we call a knowledge base. So, and you can reuse the same knowledge base for different agents. So imagine that you have your, I don't know, maybe a financial store where you have a lot of data that you want to share with a lot of agents. So you can go and you can create a knowledge base. Then you can connect several different knowledge sources. And a knowledge source can be at any database. And as Christian said, right now we have in preview, in private preview, support for MCP. So you can use this MCP server. So you can use any MCP server to bring source to Foundry IQ, which can be used in our agents.
Yeah, so later on we can share also in the post the links to all that integration. I will show in the end also a demo, but just that you see the things we just discussed before. We have here integrations for the Microsoft Agent Framework, like the context provider, graph context provider that we just discussed. We have an also brand new example for Microsoft Agent Framework, where we actually use Agent Framework Foundry hosted with a multi-agent architecture, which we host as a Foundry agent. I think that's a quite interesting architecture. And then using the same MCP that we use in many of that examples here. And for sure, then we have even a little simpler example, like using the MCP server directly in Foundry is just as a tool. Soon there will the Foundry IQ integration. Yeah, like you see here. But now that you get a little bit more feeling about, what it is. Maybe it's more for the Microsoft's people watching that. It's interesting because many know that. Maybe I switch now more to demo mode. I will not explain it too much, but if you're maybe coming more from the Microsoft side, not so familiar with Graph, let me show you my data source that I show in the demo. Hope you can see that. So I have here actually a contract management. And what I do is first, and this is exactly what the AI actually also does usually, it asks, hey, what is the schema? What relations do I have? What can I actually query? And I have here, in the core, I have here contracts. And then I have, for example, a contract that you see here is governed by a law. It is incorporated. A company is in a certain country. And then I have a contract which has contract clauses. And then they have a certain clause type. This I use a such called contractual understanding core data set, which is an open source data set with real contracts. And their lawyers, they already pre-classify different clauses like anti-assignment, competition clauses, and something like this. So you see what kind of clause type it is. And then excerpt. What you also see, it also has embedding. You can also use Neo4j embeddings for vector search. And it has also the excerpt text actually. And what I also do in practice often, I often have also combinations, because Microsoft AI search is quite strong in vector search, hybrid, agentic search. And I often do hybrid where I use a vector search in Azure AI Foundry and use, for example, then the graph relations in Neo4j. Also such mixtures are very common in practice. So, and just to see a simple query here, just execute something. Is that you see a little bit what is in it. It shows actually all contracts. It's a default limit how many you can show here. And you see this is a contract, for example, and it has many clauses. And it just choose one. I think what is then interesting is, this is just a contract and clause. Let's say it's a 1 to n. But now I kind of expand it. And what you see is, oh, that's the next layer. I have the contract, and I have the contract, the clause type. That's I just expand one layer more, and then you see what you have now is a really huge network of data. And it's just one query for an AI. And you have n hops over the data. And this is not possible with just chunk. The AI combine this, eventually it stops. But the AI can do here a query which goes over many hops to find actually how the data is connected. And if you bring that then in an app, this is just show you a small example. This is that data that I've just shown to you. It is doesn't look too exciting here, this question, but it's not so easy that it looks like. I have here, which organizations are party to contracts governed then in which country they are governed, and then which country that's incorporated. So it's actually 3 hops. And what I use here in the back is I use agent framework with AGUI adapter. So this is an AGUI frontend. And in the background, I use Foundry with Neo4j MCP. So the answer looks, just like a normal answer that you get every day from AI. But what you see it in the background, it just, make that schema query and check how the relationship, how the database look like. And then I build here instead of just showing the citations, I can here show actually exactly the graph that it's used for that thing. And it's actually the 3 hops. You see here the United States. You see then here, the different agreements, the different contracts, and then the parties. And this is all in my database, all the parties, like I said, a contract governed by the United States. So, and this is much richer, and you see exactly how the AI came to the data. It not just hallucinated how that all hangs together, it actually knows it, and you can verify it here with the graph. And so I think this is a really big win for connected enterprise data if you really the relationships.
Yeah, because once you find an entry node, right, in the graph, you can use the connections between the nodes to traverse the graph and bring all the entities that are needed, right? Amazing.
Yeah, and I really always like this query language Cypher.
Cypher.
And AI, I have to say, I really like it, but I really write it very advanced Cypher, and it can do really incredible queries if you ask something. So, yeah, I would say we would be showing you some samples. Just go around, play with that. There are also some Neo4j labs. Actually, it's really fun. So that brings me here back to our slides.
All right. Thanks, Christian. Thanks, George. I think the future of agentic AI is really exciting, and I think most of us like bacon. So, and we really appreciate your insights there. And also, thank you to our audience. To explore documentation or see more use cases, you can visit us at neo4j.com. If you have specific project requirements or technical hurdles, please reach out to us at ecosystem@neo4j.com. We'd love to help. And thanks again for joining this week's Connected Intelligence. We're here every week exploring how graph powers the next generation of AI. Join us next Thursday for Neo4j Agent on Google Cloud Marketplace. We'll be discussing how the Neo4j Agent helps teams bring connected knowledge into Gemini Enterprise. See you there.